Hello, Paul. How are you doing today?
I'm terrific. How about yourself? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good and metal like always.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to you and see you, via the world of Skype. So this is awesome.
Pleasure all is mine. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
let's start our interview. I've heard it many times from many people. This is a crazy industry. Okay, so how could you start a new record label these days? You must have some balls. So would you like to tell me why we call this a crazy business? What is wrong with it?
It really is crazy, and I think I've been saying to launch this. It's difficult. We're used to an old, antiquated model that's really outdated. At the same time, you're seeing a lot of labels fall by the wayside. You're seeing the corporate record labels not investing in a lot of rock and metal bands. So there seems to be an opportunity for a label to get in there and create some market share by the lack of other opportunities out there. The scary thing is, there are record stores starting to pop up again because of the resurgence of vinyl. But the distribution system, people are, there's a younger generation of kids that aren't necessarily rushing out to buy special edition vinyl or CDs. They're stuck in a world of either downloading, which is starting to diminish, but they'll go to Spotify and they'll go to the various spots and they'll stream music.
Right,
And it's a changing world. I still believe that there's a model out there that works for record labels, but it's a tough climate. It really is. It's very difficult, and I won't sugarcoat it in one bit.
right. So, this business seems to change quickly recently, daily
Mhm.
maybe. I mean, maybe it's changing from something solid to something organic more, you know. And
Yeah.
let me remind you what you told me during our last interview in 2012. You said the business as we know it is in the final stage of death.
Yes.
And now you created another record company. So can you tell me what has changed that led you to change your mind?
I felt like you still have to work with the bands to be able to. I've been doing the management side of the fence, but you still need to build a roster of talent and associate yourself with them. Even though the delivery methods are changing, and they certainly are, because it's not necessarily the physical world. It's aligning yourself with good talent that has the ability to go out there and work hard and building something together. And it's a lot different than it used to be. It's not just working a single to radio. It's not just press. It's really all of the other stuff, the groundwork, the social media, the staying visible, the being creative and trying to find ways to get that attention, to get you to the point that you're built up. So, I don't look at it the way I looked at Mayhem Records or Spitfire Records or even Relativity Records through Sony years ago. It's more of a management partnership now, overall, to develop the talent as opposed to a record label. Because a record label traditionally is set up, put the record out, make a good sound scan impact first week sales, second week sales, and then go on to the next thing. I'm looking at a small stable of bands, only a handful of bands to work together and create a different life cycle for a record and try to rework it to where it's not built about just first week sales, but it's built for 3, 4, 5 years of steady development, steady road work, steady visibility in order to create a roster that works. Money wise, it's not the same. I mean, I anticipate I'm not paying myself from this record label, and I don't anticipate paying myself for quite a while. So it's more or less a labor of love to put everything that we generate for the company through various revenue streams, be it publishing or physical sales or digital sales, to pump that back into the company and reinvest that back into the artists to create that long-term catalog development, what we used to call catalog development in the old days. But I'm looking at it as a kind of like a management company, a marketing company, a publishing division, and a record label all in one, but not necessarily a traditional record label.
Right. So may I ask, what is your goal with your Fade to Silence record?
Look, I would love to develop these artists domestically in the United States to be at about 25,000 units in physical sales.
Uh,
Um, I would like to have that same amount in digital sales, and I'd like to see forward momentum, positive growth. And I think once we obtain that, I think we're in pretty good shape to bring in a couple more bands to keep developing. And I'd like to see joint venture touring where we do label packages going out together, where we've got 3 or 4 bands steadily out on the road in North America, in Europe, hopefully playing festivals, working together, touring together, sharing costs to cut down on the expenses.
right. Okay. As I know, you signed two bands. Would you like to talk about them?
Absolutely. The first signing was Rocket Queen. It's a band I met locally in Texas. They put on a very high-profile show, very powerful, very energetic, kind of like old school, strong frontman that plays guitars and sings.
Right.
And everybody that sees them is floored. They're just one of those bands. They've got a record coming out next year, produced by Zach Malloy, who's worked with Hailstorm and a bunch of really kind of creative, either country crossover or rock and heavy metal bands. I've got that, and then with our arms to the sun out of Arizona, who are very creative, artistic. I kind of put them in that vein of Mastodon, a little Opeth, a little Tool, just a great creative band. And they're road warriors. They stay out on the road forever. We're doing a date in Arizona with Tool and Primus in front of 30,000 people for the Cupid Monster Mash Ball on Halloween. You're going to love what's coming out next year.
Right. So, how is your relation with those guys?
Well,
As the chief of uh, their record label and their artist. So, how is
I think it's different. I'm experiencing. I learned a lot of what to do right and what I did wrong in the past. And I think one of the things is I'm in much more communication, almost more like a manager with the artists, where you're staying on top of them. You're staying on top of their respective managers for With Arms to the Sun. Um, it's more interaction per day than we normally would have had at the record label structure, because there just wasn't time in the day, because there was just a lot of product coming through, be it catalog or frontline releases. With this, it's more of let's brainstorm, let's talk several times a day, many times a week, and let's exploit every opportunity that's given of us and find a way to get attention in this world of attention driven media. It's all about raising your hand and saying, "Hey, look at me," and you got to find ways for people to stop and take a moment and listen.
yeah, I know about that. Okay, Fate to Silence is not your first company. You work with
No,
a few, the biggest being Spitfire Record, and you work with great names such as, okay, I have a list here: Dio, Alice Cooper, Napalm Death, Black Label Society, and Europe, Lita Ford, and many, many others. So, would you like to talk about those days?
well, I work with some of the most historic, influential talents that I obviously grew up listening to. I mean, when I was a kid, I really got introduced to the hard rock, heavy metal world via Alice Cooper. When my sister brought home "Welcome to My Nightmare," and it scared the shit out of me. But I loved working with Alice. I loved being able to make suggestions, because at the time he wasn't doing the makeup. He really had kind of moved away from doing the big stage production and the show, and we wanted to do something that was very heavy, that was very competitive, what was going on at the time, and we wanted to try to package him on more of a shock fest type thing, where he might be able to play with a Slipknot or play with a Marilyn Manson. We wanted to bring him back and make him contemporary and make it really his.
Where were we? Oh
We
yeah,
were. I was getting ready to mention we were talking about Alice Cooper, and obviously getting to work with people like Ronnie James Dio, and with Dio, he knew what instinctively what he wanted to do, and I would help I would more or less with Ronnie listen, because you really don't tell Ronnie what to do. Not that I want to tell any artist what to do, but he really got it and really knew how to properly represent himself and what he wanted to do in his art. And I was there to support him and make sure, I picked him up at a time where, that style of music was at its lowest in America, and people weren't really paying attention. And I'm thrilled to see his legacy to continue to grow, even in his unfortunate passing. After all these years, he's still so thought of so highly, and he deserves it. But it was a pleasure working with a lot of bands like Zakk Wylde with Black Label, and seeing that thing grow from the beginning, from the onset, and watching it grow into something big. And hindsight is 2020. When you look at these bands like Black Label Society, they really broke from being on the road, and it takes a while. And that's what I'm prepared to do. I'd like to be in this for the long haul. Financially, it's very complicated, as you know. So the thought is, why have a lavish office? Why spend, I don't want any of those things. I don't need any of those things in life. That's not the important thing. The important thing is, I want to attach myself and work with great creative talent elements in a band, and just watch and nurture their development and watch it grow over a period of time. And whether it's successful or not, who knows? But
So what happened with this Spitfire Records in the end?
um, we were supposed to be a boutique label. We were supposed to be a small part of a bigger operation when we did the deal with Eagle Rock Entertainment. And I think when we encountered some early success and a lot of talent was coming to us and approaching us, the talent kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think I let it get away from me, and certainly there were other people that were whispering in my ear and wanted it to grow bigger. And I shouldn't have allowed that to happen. I should have maintained our business plan from the beginning, kept it small, kept it growing, and not let it become a machine, because it became a factory after a while. Eagle Rock was putting some of their releases from Europe in through our system, and it was bogging us down. You only have so many employees, you only have so much stuff, and when people are giving you a Gary Newman record and some of these other things that don't really make sense, nothing against Gary Newman, but sonically, it really has nothing to do with what we were trying to accomplish. And it was disappointing, and I should have done it other ways. And then there were things that just escalated in our relationship. I had secured a deal with Comedy Central to put out Comedy Central DVDs, Dave Chappelle, Jim Brewer. We would have had rights to repackage some of the stuff like Daily Show, and they didn't get it. And it got after a certain point where I didn't want to do it anymore, because it wasn't what I had created, and it wasn't going where I wanted it to go.
Right. So, okay, can you tell me what are you working on at the moment, and what are your plans for future?
Well, we're looking at another couple of pieces that are more catalog, with new records coming out next year. And we're looking for that one proverbial big name to kind of be the anchor that a lot of people can help us identify with. But again, we're going to be small. You're going to see probably 4 to 5 artists max on the label in our first 2 years. And we're really preparing for a bigger launch in 2016. Right now, we're putting out the 2 reissues from With Our Arms to the Sun and Rocket Queen, with work on new records in the end of the first quarter, second quarter of next year, and the summer of 2016. And then we'd like to have something big for the fourth quarter, something like that Black Label Society Testament that people have come to know me from Mayhem Fierce and from Spitfire.
Yes. Okay. Thanks for giving me your time. Any final words?
No, man, I love what you do. I think you're a great guy, and
Thank you.
I'm always here to support you. And it's a pleasure to be able to take a moment and talk to you.
It's my honor. Thank you so much. Wish you all the
Madonna,
best and metal.
thank you very much.